Good morning, everyone. All right, let me see if I can get my slides going. So, my name is Eric Sheninger. I'm local. My high school is in New Milford, New Jersey, which is 10 minutes over the George Washington Bridge. And to begin, I think it's appropriate for me to talk about where I started. This was me in 2009. I thought social media, real-time web, really had no place in the classroom. I was the polar opposite of Chris Lehman, and I was proud of it. I said, no way, no how will I have an environment in my school that's going to distract my learners. And oh my, how far we've come. And it really was by chance. I was sitting down reading the Staten Island Advance, where I live, and I read about Twitter. And it was that catalyst for me that led me on a journey and transformed me into the principal that I am today. So I decided to jump onto the social media bandwagon. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because it opened up a whole new world to me and gave me ideas from people like all of you of how I could make my school better. My school is good. I'm surrounded by high-performing districts that are always in the spotlight, and we're doing great things. And social media, for me, gave me that window to the world, not just my community, but the world, to share with what we were doing at New Milford High School. I just love this infographic about how dynamic social media really is and the real-time web. When you look at all the different tools and all the different things that it allows us to do, again, my biggest problem in the beginning was, how can I harness the power of all these tools? Because I wanted to do it all at once. Whether it was video, blogging, social bookmarking. I took a step back, but you look at it, the center of this, it's all about the conversation. Conversations about learning. Conversations about how we can communicate better with our stakeholders. How we can find opportunities that are there for us to grab. And I'll talk about that at the end. So, the premise of my talk is school improvement one character at a time. And I've sort of broken down what I'm going to speak about into 6 different areas, the first of which is communication. Now think about how schools communicate. Think about your own schools. A lot of it still is snail mail, getting things out through mailings or on a website. Okay, first off, the mail usually never makes it home, and your website, let's be honest, who really goes to school websites? So what we've utilized at New Milford is Twitter and Facebook are now our primary means to reach our stakeholders. What are we doing with those 2 resources? We're sharing information about events, when meetings are happening, schedule changes. And we can see the impact it's having, because when you post it on the wall of Facebook, you can see how many people are looking at it, how many people are liking it, sharing it, so on and so forth. But for us, Twitter and Facebook, we're now redirecting our parents and community members to information that we want them to see. So, for example, I want to communicate all the great things that are going on in my school. And for years, I did a 8 to 10-page report called the Principal's Report. Every month I do it. Has so much great things that we're doing. But who was reading it? It was on our website. No one's going there. Well, you know what? Now I tweet it out, and I put it on Facebook. Everyone's sharing it. People are emailing me. It's great. Also, with Facebook and Twitter, I can now communicate the great things that my staff and students are doing. And we are doing so many great things. And you know what? It's so depressing now that all we hear about in terms of education is the negative. That's all we hear. We can now no longer leave public relations to chance. We now have the power with the real-time web to be our own communications hub. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for mainstream media. There is. But you know what? With all the great things that my teachers and my students are doing, my job is to share it as much as possible. And tools like Twitter, Facebook, and blogs allow me to do that. I can determine how much information I want to get out there. I can redirect to newspapers, TV stations. But the best thing is the reaction I've seen from my parents and my students. Parents now are like, they'll email me and call me saying, hey, my child did this. Can you put it up on the Facebook page? The best thing for me coming in every day is my staff works really, really hard. I'm so proud of them. My community, 2 square miles, again, like I said, we're surrounded by some of the high flyers. But now, I have the power at my disposal to get that information out to not just my community, but the whole world. And people are now hearing about what the teachers are doing at New Milford High School. And this transformation, it's been a slow process, but it's significant because we're no different than anyone else. If we can do it, anyone can do it. And that's what's important, is everyone's like, well, how are you able to do this and that? Well, there's a lot of schools doing it. It takes a change in mindset. And again, people always ask me, well, you're doing all this stuff with social media. Is it taking time away from your job? Blah? No. This is now embedded into my responsibilities as a principal. And I really think that one of the most important characteristics of effective leadership is you have to be able to communicate effectively. So instead of spending my time writing newsletters or lengthy emails, I spend it sending out tweets or putting up a Facebook update. And what I've seen is where we started with a sort of a small pocket of teachers at my school that really embraced this movement, it's growing. And now I used to have to, scrape to find exciting, innovative ideas to share on my blog on Facebook. Now I have to decide what I'm going to share. And again, it's that real-time web allowing us to connect with people in ways that really we didn't have at our disposal. And the best part of it is, it's free for the most part. It's costing me a little bit of time. It's not costing me any money to share all this exciting stuff. Now, for those of you that follow me on Twitter or have looked at our Facebook page, this is what you see. And I'm going to quickly discuss the concept of branding. And I use this example all the time, the golden arches of McDonald's. When you see that or hear it, something comes to mind. With my kids, Nicholas is almost 6, my daughter Isabella's 4, I have to either take a different route so I don't go by McDonald's, or I have to distract them. Because they're thinking Happy Meals, toys, soda. I'm thinking cholesterol, I don't want to do that. Schools have the power now to brand themselves. When I'm out there in social media spaces, I want people to see the pillars, the night, the green and black, and think innovation, transformation, collaboration. That's what I expect. That's what I want people to see. And I can use or have used social media to brand my school. So it's not just my community. Now, sort of like when people hear of New Milford High School that are becoming more entrenched in the real-time web, they automatically think, wow, you know what? Those teachers there, they're really open to change. They're doing some great things. So we've talked about communication, public relations, branding. The next is professional growth and development. Really, I can't even imagine when I sit down and reflect on how much I've learned just by taking some time to engage with a passionate community of educators all over the world. I come to events now, and I know people by name because we've been communicating for so long. But we now have these options in these tough economic times to grow professionally, 24/7. We can use social media spaces for knowledge acquisition, sharing resources, discussion. I know he's here today. Tom Whitby created the Educators PLN. It's a great insight. It's free. And what does it do? It attracts passionate educators, like all of you that are here today, with one goal: to do better for kids. That's why you spend the time on there. And now it's at our disposal, convenient for us. Student engagement. Now, this diagram, I was looking last night for the ultimate diagram to talk about student engagement. And, I looked at the person who created it, Kelly Tenkley, and I know her from Twitter, so I emailed her and said, hey, can I use this? Within seconds, she said, yes, yes. So Kelly, if you're watching, thank you again for your diagram. What are we doing in New Milford High School? We're using a variety of these tools to engage our students. Now, we still place an emphasis on sound pedagogy. You have to be able to teach in order to effectively integrate these tools to engage kids. But here at New Milford now, we're Skyping with Holocaust survivors all over the country. We're Skyping to Israel. We are having our students create demonstrations of their learning through Glogster, VoiceThread. All of these things are free. And what's a kid's reaction? They're more excited to come to school to learn. The problem right now, in my opinion, with a lot of schools is when kids come to us, they're in a totally connected world. And what are schools doing? They're trying to pull the plugs out as fast as possible. They're trying to block all these sites. We're not teaching digital citizenship or responsibility when we should be, in order to prepare them for this evolving landscape that they're going to have to be successful in. But with all these tools now, it's just, again, I see the expression of my kids. The best thing is one of my brand new teachers, he's in math. And his students this year showed great improvement when we looked at their standardized test scores in 8th grade compared to now. And you know what? What's he doing? He's using a document camera to record his 2 to 3 minute lessons and uploading it to YouTube, then putting it on a Google site. He's using cell phones, poll everywhere, in his class to engage the kids. He's also using a smart board effectively. Great things to engage kids. The guy can teach, but he's integrating all these different tools. And the last thing, number 6, is opportunity. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I'm an opportunist. My job right now is to find the best opportunities for my kids. Now I have the audience. This is why, going back full circle, this is why I am in social media spaces, because I want to find opportunities for my kids. We all have that power now, because now we have an audience where we didn't really have before. So what are some of the things that we've done? Because I'm now engaged with a variety of stakeholders, we get free stuff. It's amazing. And that free stuff, again, I don't have the money to go and buy it. But when I get to try it out and I see the reaction of my teachers, I'm like, you know what, maybe I should invest in that. That was the example with my math teacher. We got some document cameras. We utilized them. We got free professional development. It was great. And now I look at it, now I'm purchasing document cameras for my chemistry and physics teachers because I wanted them to do the same thing as my math teacher. I remember I blogged. I like to blog every now and again. I blogged about how I loved Skype and how we were utilizing it to connect our Holocaust class to our guide in Europe, because we go on a trip every year. And an organization read my blog, contacted me and said, wow, this is great. We want to offer you an opportunity. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This isn't my course. This is my teacher. I redirected them to my teacher. Make a long story short, they flew my teacher out to Israel for a week. They then came back, a contingent of administrators from Israel came to my school, and we had a one-day summit. We now have a partnership with a high school in Israel where we're Skyping back and forth. And now we have this partnership that would not have existed if, A, I hadn't really had a different vision of technology, B, if we weren't integrating it, and C, if we weren't sharing. And that's what I encourage so many educators to do, is to have an open mind. And going back to the first slide, the real-time web, it's not an enemy. It really is such an asset, but you have to model it. What I found initially when I tried to get started with all this is I got a little frustrated because I would type up little memos, instructional sheets saying, hey, use this, here's how you can do it. Months go by, nobody did anything with it. It wasn't until I started to learn how to use these tools myself. But what have we done in New Milford that has allowed us to flourish? Besides myself and now a lot of my teachers modeling, we have to have flexibility and understand that teachers have to be afforded the opportunity to take risks, and failure is okay. You know, so often failure is such a bad word. But you know what? I've learned from so many of my personal failures and professional failures, and I make sure I don't make that same mistake again. But these flexible learning environments, we have to understand that, you know, so many times we look at schools as these isolated islands. And I think Steve Anderson might have talked about that yesterday. Or, you know, our classrooms are these silos. But you know what? The world is there for our students. We can now pull in, Skype in, you know, going back to the whole opportunity thing. We've done a joint student government meeting via Skype with a school in Ohio. We're using Skype all the time, and it's sort of changed my mindset on how our learning environments should be structured. You know, no longer am I buying desks for my students. You know, when I visited Chris's school and I've looked at some other ones online, you know, I'm ashamed that I spent thousands of dollars on desks. You know, I got to get a better system that supports collaboration. But now, whereas we had no video conference technology in any classrooms, in just a year now, we have that in 9 classrooms to utilize Skype, and all I had to invest in was some nice monitors, and I had to have the teachers that embraced this. That is my job. My job is to get my community to embrace a different level of thought and a different direction. And I think I'm out of time because it keeps saying like 1:20. It keeps going back and back again. I keep getting like extra time. Oh, this is great. So since my time was extended, if anyone has any questions, but again, you know, with me and what we've done in my school, you know, I'm no expert by any stretch. It's just that having that vision for what I want my children to have in the classroom, that's what fuels me. When I watch my son and I see him engaged with, you know, normal things that a 6-year-old is, but then I see him with a Samsung Galaxy or an iPod Touch, and I see him doing math and reading on it, you know, it inspires me because, you know what, here's my little digital native son. And I want to create an environment that is going to meet the needs of him, but for the needs of my students at New Milford High School. And on that note, thank you very much.